Hey everybody, I'm Coach Tim. Wanted to show you this video that I did a few months ago. I did a master class with some advancers in the community to introduce a system or a way of thought. We use this term called rent paid. What does that mean? It came out of this master class. And the master class uses real estate as a comparison to how we trade, the proper way to think about trading. A lot of times we go into trading, we think of it as from an employee standpoint. This training shifts your mind to think of it as more of an investment versus a trading activity. And usually it's about, your success in trading is usually about the system that you operate in. So if you're operating from a system that's working against you, you're going to struggle with your trading career. But if you pivot and operate out a system that's meant to help you produce wealth, you'll get some greater success. So take a listen to the video and let me know what you think. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about the video. All right, let's get to it.
It's like I'm a trader. Why are we talking about real estate? But it'll make sense. It'll make sense, and it'll be fun. So let's get going. Okay, let me. Okay, perfect. All right. So as I'm going to be asking you some questions, and they're going to be important questions because the first thing I want to do is I want to shift your mindset. You are a CEO. So you may say, "Well, I'm a trader." No, 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 no. You're not a trader. You're an advancer. You're a CEO. You're an owner. God has brought you into dominionship, and you are an owner. Someone say that. I am an owner. I am an owner. I own what the Lord delivers into my hand. I am an owner, right? Wealth is created through ownership. And so we're going to use real estate to understand trading. Trading, when you say the word trading, instantly your mind says, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And so real estate, everybody lives somewhere, so you can understand real estate. So instantly your mind says, okay, I understand real estate. So let's use real estate so that our mind can flip the right switches to understand a world that may seem unfamiliar. That's right. You are an owner. You are an owner. So owners, I got to ask you something. You have two houses that are shown here. All the examples are places that I'll say this. You have two houses here. Which house do you want to own? Which one? Just type it in the chat. Which one do you want to own out of these two houses that you see on the screen? Say the right or the left. Matthew says both. Give me both. The one on the left. Judy likes the one on the left. I can flip that. Okay. There's a reason. Okay. I can flip the one on the left. Michelle says I'm an owner and both. Give me both of them. What? Okay. So everybody say, Tisha, Tamia, Brian says left. All right. So for the ones that said left or for the ones that said both, tell me why. Judy said why she would, but tell me why you picked. Corey said curb appeal. So he I think you mean right. So since you're looking at it that way, but just tell me why you picked the one that you picked. Corey says you can flip it easier. And a lot of individuals answers, but so tell me why you picked it. Desmond says the square footage looks bigger. So I picked it. I picked the one with the biggest square footage. Nedra says because it's pretty. That's the way a lot of people buy real estate. It's pretty. He already said the neighborhood around it. Brian said it looks like more land. George says because there's more land on the left. Priscilla said it looks larger. Mia says it's more land. Right. And so that's good. Thank you for answering that. That is how a lot of individuals that select real estate, that's how they select it. Jeremy says, because, or Yinka says, it appears to be newer. Jeremy says, it looks rent ready, easy income. Michelle says, I could flip both. Matthew says, as a realtor, I understand the value and how to make profit. That's good. We got a realtor there, so you can help me through some of these scenarios. And so that's how a lot of individuals pick property. For me, when you say which house, and I want you to say, again, I am an owner. And not only am I an owner, I am an investor. You're an owner and you're an investor. Because when we look at things, our mind instantly goes to what we know. And when you look, what I want you to do when you look at these things, I want you to say it depends. It's not when you're presented opportunity. I want you to make sure that opportunity goes through a filter. Tonight, I'm going to help develop that filter to help you understand the numbers, to help you understand that you are an owner, that you are an investor. And I want you to begin to ask on every opportunity. You say it depends. And what does it depend on? Well, it depends on what I'm using it for. What is this for you? And so a lot of you said it. Some of you said to flip it. Some of you said it looks larger. Some of you said, I like the neighborhood. What am I using it for? It's going to be a very important question when you come down to it. And if the answer is I'm using it for financial freedom, does it really matter what the neighborhood looks like? If it can be used for financial freedom, does it really matter how big the land is? If I say you can use it for financial freedom, does it really matter if you can flip it? If I say you can use it for financial freedom? All right, so just stop and think about that. We're going to set mindsets because I'm going to bring you into the world of the millionaires that I interact with on a daily basis. I'm going to bring you into this world and reveal some mindset to you. I care less about the neighborhood. I care less about the aesthetics of the property. I care less about the land. All I see is a tool. Nope, Corey. Nope. All I see is a tool. And I say no because you said, well, those things do matter. No, it doesn't. A tool is a tool. You use it for what it needs to be used for. Let this absorb. I'm going to be saying some things that I believe is true. It may challenge what you think, but I want you to allow it. Just let it sink in. And I appreciate the challenge. Just let it sink in. Because if I say, hey, we're going to create wealth, and I show you these two pictures, I say, I got these properties, and you guys would grab the lawnmower, the paintbrush, the all of these things. And I said, what are you doing? It's the employee. You got the employee mindset. What are you doing with the paintbrush? What are you doing with the lawnmower? What are you doing with the cleaners? What are you doing? It's the employee mindset. See, owners say, this is just a tool. This is just, that's right, Jeremy. It's just a vehicle. There's a place that I want to get to, and this tool will get me there. So let's run some numbers on this. When you look at the one on the left, after all the expenses are paid, after you paid the down payment, you're going to pay less money. You're going to make more money. It's going to pay you after everything is paid off. You'll have a net passive income of $1,000 coming in. On the right, you're going to pay a little bit more money, and you're going to have a cash flow of about $400 coming in. Would you like to have $400 coming in? Yeah, sure. Would you like to have $1,000 coming in? Yeah, sure. So let me ask you now, which one do you choose and why? Do you choose the left or do you choose the right? Kiari says the left. Paula says the left. Nedra says the left. Corey says the left. Michelle says both. Give me both. I want both. I feel you. But let's just say you only had one choice. Let's just say the bank would only approve you for one. Which one are you going to choose? And so there is a framework now. We're just not randomly choosing, but we're choosing the one that meets my needs. Whatever my goal is that I select, that's the one I'm going to choose. All right, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into this. He said, Tabisha said, if I'm not living there, then I'll pick the one on the left. And that's most people bring their personal circumstance to the equation. Teacher says, how much equity does it have? She's concerned about equity. Isn't that what we have been taught? Equity. You need equity in your property. Okay. All right, we're going to learn. We're going to get there. Know your numbers. All right. So let's add to this equation. Let's say you need $5,000 per month to meet all of your expenses. Let's just say you need $5,000 a month to meet all of your expenses. And that becomes a goal. Let's just say that, you know what? Things happen. This job is unstable. I just need to make $5,000 a month, and I need that coming in. Okay, so now that we've added that equation, which one now do you pick? Does that change your mind at all? Corey says left. Judy says left. Corey says it doesn't change my mind. I'm going to one on the left. All right, let's get into the numbers of this. If I need $5,000, which one is able to satisfy my need? Why isn't McDonald's concerned when they go to purchase a property? Why don't they care that there's a house for sale for very cheap? They could buy that property, can't they? Could it be just that they have very specific goals concerning the tool that they need? Let that sink in. That if you're going to be successful, you have to be very clear on what your goal is and what tools you need to accomplish your goal. Most traders believe that they need to know how to trade. So they spend usually, 3 to 6 months trying to learn how to trade. They don't have an idea of what tool they need. All right, let's go a little bit deeper. I'm going to challenge some mindsets here tonight before we get into this. On the left, if I say that both properties require the same amount of energy. I only have to do the left side 5 times. I only need 5 times. I got to acquire the money. I got to go to the bank. I got to get all that stuff to acquire this property. I got to do this 5 times. On the right side, I got to do it 13 times. All right, I'm going to ask this again. Which side will you choose? Based on energy, based on timing, based on how much I have available. Which one are you going to choose now? You say the left, say the left, say the left. All right. What if the financials were swapped? What if the right side you could make $1,000 a month? What if the left side you could make $400 a month? But let's just say your financials switched in both scenarios where you still only needed 5 and 13. Would you follow the money and say, you know what, I'm going to do 13 anyway? Or would you follow the time and efficiency and say, I just want to do the 5? Okay. Reading your comments. All right. So we're talking about mindset. I am an owner and I am an investor, which means that there can't be an employee making a decision for the owner and the investor. Michelle says 5. Time is money. I can do 10. I can do 10. If I can do this with 5 and get this amount of money, then I can probably do 10 and still beat 13. It's efficiency. But how would you know when we first looked at the properties, how would you know which one was the most efficient for your money and your time? How would you know unless you knew the numbers? We're owners here. We're investors here. And so what happens is normally what they do in real estate, you'll find your 5 or you'll find your 13 and you'll do the work to acquire it. Right? And when you acquire it, we call that portfolio building. So all the properties go into a portfolio. So I have 10 properties here. And now I have a portfolio of 10 properties. Let's just say 5 of those properties are producing $400 a month. 5 of those properties are producing $1,000 a month. I'm making $7,000 per month. Regardless of which one's making more or less, I have 10. So if I divide my gross by how much I have, that's $700 per unit. That's right, Tisha. 10 doors, $700 per unit. Yeah, Tamisha, I can't really have a discussion about efficiency if I don't know the numbers. Right. So I'm making $700 per unit. I got a portfolio. All right. So just gather that imagery. Gather that imagery. All right. So now what could I do? I have this portfolio. What could I do to make more money? What are my options here? I have 10. You know what? This is working. I think we got something. But this year, for this 10, how could I make more money? Let's say in the same neighborhood, same type of houses. I'm making $7,000 per month. What could I do to make more? Michelle says Airbnb it. So probably rent by the room or rent by the day or something like that. Pull out the equity and buy more. Reinvest the money into something new. Yeah, all of those are fine. But couldn't you, before you went into debt and pulled out the equity and touch the equity, couldn't you just simply raise the rent? Mm. See, our first thought a lot of times is to do a lot of work. Let's do it again. Couldn't you just simply raise the rent? Property increases by 3% each year with inflation or more, depending on the neighborhood. Prices are going up. It's in high demand. He said, don't raise the rent. Listen, I don't see the tenants. What do I see? A tool. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle. I'm an owner. All right, let's get through this. We have three investors, A, B, and C. Investor A, investor B, investor C. Investor A buys the property too high. So he has 10 properties that are, each of them are he has to pay $100 to meet the need. So he's losing $1,000 a month. Investor B bought it high. So when they were normally making $1,000 per month, that investor is only making $200 per month. So $2,000 a month on 10 properties, that's pretty good. But investor C bought it at normal price. When they bought it at normal price, they're making $10,000 per month. Everybody sees that. Yeah, that's true, Diane. A, B, and C. It's the same house. Why are they making some? Why is one losing money? Why is another barely making money? And why is C thriving? Isn't that something you can have investors all and owners all in one group, and some are losing and some are barely making it and some are thriving? What's the difference? That's the question we're going to answer tonight. George says timing. Tamisha says timing. Michelle says, okay, you're correcting something. Says no. Okay. Well, really the difference is my selection. It's interesting, what we think the difference is. It's what I select, because no one put a gun to my head and said, you better buy this right now. No, it's just my selection. A, develop their portfolio to produce a negative number. B, produce their portfolio willingly to produce this number. Now, with A and B, didn't they have the same opportunity to develop their portfolio to produce this number? 10,000. But they didn't select that. See, I'm an owner. I'm an owner and I am an investor. And as that owner and an investor, it's your responsibility to select not just a property, but to select the property that meets your goals. Okay. Now we didn't say, how do you manage it? Well, what bank are you going to go through? Or all of that? No. I am an owner. I'm an investor. I have the power to select what meets my goal. Again, why doesn't McDonald's? I was building Buffalo Wild Wings for a while. We would go to different cities and build Buffalo Wild Wings and develop them. Why didn't they take a 5-acre site? Or excuse me, I forgot their development criteria. Why didn't they take a 3-acre site? Well, because their development requirement was 4 acres. Why? Because they knew what size building they need. They knew how many parking stalls they had. They knew how many turn lanes. They knew what kind of trucks deliver their food. They knew their numbers. They knew exactly what they needed. So even though there was a great deal on a 2-acre site, it just wouldn't work for them. All right, this is going to make sense. Why am I talking about this with trading? It's going to make sense in a second. Know your numbers. All right, let's talk about another side of it, managing the property. That's right, Kamika. They knew their numbers. Managing the property. All right, so you have this property here, and should have asked, but how is revenue produced? It's produced through the rent. It's produced through the monthly rent payments. There's a tenant there. The tenant usually pays you a monthly fee, and that's the money that you get from it. Now, you can flip it in different things, but I just want to use it as a holding model that revenue is produced through monthly rent payments. I'm going to keep this very simple, but it's very complex at the same time. So if you do not understand this, let me know, because everybody's going to walk this out together. And we're going to all walk this out together. Because this is going to click for you. Question for the community. What happens if that tenant does not pay? What happens if you have this property and the tenant does not pay you? What happens? Oh, I like that, Judy. There's no great deal if it doesn't meet my needs. I like that. Could be said eviction notice. Dr. Denise said you pay. Somebody got to pay. Eviction. That's right. Hey, listen, if I got to pay something, you got to get out. Why are you enjoying this? You got to get out. There's some changes that need to be made. That's right. It's eviction. Give it to someone who will pay. Give it to someone who will pay. It's going to make sense in a while. I'm not going to pay for too long. You just ain't going to stay rent free. You're going to give it to somebody that will pay. It's eviction. Very simple concepts. Everybody knows this. You can grasp this. So these aren't hard concepts to grab. So I want to start bringing this home. So what if this property that we're talking about, what if it was a prop firm account? Okay, now we're making a bridge. What if the property was a prop firm account? All right, let that sink in for a second. All of the truth that you had when we were talking about, and y'all were answering good. Now bring all of that truth over to the prop trading firms, the proprietary trading firms that we use. And let's say that account is a property. All right, let's bring that truth over. So we said, Tim, we want to have 10 accounts in 1 year. We're going to work towards that. What if each account represented a house? Would the same rules apply? Yes or no? Would the same rules that you just said was true for how you do selection in real estate, would the same rules apply? Could I build an account, a portfolio? Could I make each account pay me rent? Could I evict that account if it does not pay me? When we talk about efficiency, if one account is not efficient, if there's another account that's doing something, wouldn't it make more sense to replace that account with an account that's doing what the other account is doing, the other property is doing? No, 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 no. Kiari, you're not the tenant. You're an owner. Come on, type that in, Kiari. Say, I am an owner and I am an investor. You are not a tenant. Not when it comes to building your portfolio. We're going to switch the way we think about trading. You are an owner and you are an investor. Yes, we play by the same rules. Yes, same rules. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's push on. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. All right. So before we said, okay, this property, it gave us $1,000 a month. And this property gave us $400 a month. And we said, which one am I going to choose? All right. That's right. I am an owner. I am an investor. Okay. Well, let's look at the perspective there. Let's look at this perspective. He makes a good point. Isn't the rental property, isn't it passive? I don't have to do anything for that. It just comes to me. Okay. We're going to talk about it. But we still have to put in the trades. Okay. That explains a lot. Because when you think of trading, you think of work. You don't think of ownership. How did you get the property? Didn't you have to put in work to sign the documents? To become the owner of the property? But you called it passive. All right. So what about the accounts? To your point, what work are you really doing to own this account and to put in your position? What are you really doing? I am an owner. I know this is messing with your mind. It's like, I am an owner because we've been trying to work our trades. That's why we're trying to learn so much. I want to know exactly what's going on, when it's going on. I need to know everything because I need to work and be a good worker. Well, is that what we're really doing? Or do we own the title to a deed? We have a position. And that position has to pay us, right? All right, we're going to shift some things. Just stay with me. We're going to get there. But I like how this is challenging mindset. All right, so let's figure this out. What if the property was a prop firm account? I like this picture. It says rent is due and rent is due every day. Listen. What if the prop firm account was a property? Would the same rules apply? Brother Tim says we're paying for the accounts. Yeah, you're the owner of it. There's paperwork on it. You're the owner. Oh man, this is funny because being an owner there's a different perspective that you'll have. That if it is true, let's say for the real estate, I could have used any industry that has a product for sale. Every industry, whether there's a service or a product for sale, it is just that. It's a product. They're going to make money per unit. When you look at your accounts, do you look at that account as a property? Didn't one of our slides say that one of the accounts paid out $400 a month? What if I said I can show you a property that pays you out $500 a day? Would you say, oh, $500 a day ain't nothing? but then spend $300,000 to get a property that pays you $400 a day, a month, excuse me, $400 a month. We're going to answer that, Tim. Good question, but we'll answer that. We'll answer that. With the $1 million developers that I work with couldn't they just automate it? Why would? Okay, all right. I'm an owner. I'm an investor. We're gonna let this soak in for a second. These are good questions. So isn't my account, if I said the way to wealth is to own a mortgage, pay $225,000, and I'll give you $400 a month. Does anybody know the math on that? What's 400 divided by 30? Let's use 30. 400 divided by 30 is $13 a day. All right, that's pretty good. I ain't got to do nothing for it because you like that. I don't have to do nothing for it. That's real wealth. That's what we're taught, right? Yeah. Okay, so here's a property that it doesn't pay you $13 a day. It pays you $500 a day. Would I still say that $500 is little? I want to make more in a day. I want to make more. Why make 500 when I could make 1,000? Conceptually, is 500 still? That's right. It's $13 a day on that house with the $225,000 mortgage. What risk, Corey? You said my risk is higher. What risk? The $16 that you paid? That's your risk. You paid $225,000 to make $400 a month. And you're saying $16 a month to possibly lose $16 for a prop firm account is too much to risk. That's too much. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm with you. To try to make 1,000 or 500. It is just for math purposes. Teacher says the math ain't mathing. Okay. It's not comparable. All right. But the truth of the matter is that the numbers of $500 is a lot of time you get into trading, you'd be like, oh, you ain't making no money in one account. $500. Oh man, I see people making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. Then I'll celebrate. But real estate investors aren't making this in a month, and you're talking about what you make in a day. Easily, $100 in a day times 30 is $3,000. What property are you going to buy that pays you $3,000 in a day? Know your numbers. And here's the thing, as a landlord over this type of setup, you can demand rent to be due every day. But how many of you look at it like that? We're just doing a mindset shift, and then I'm going to jump into the numbers. From how many of you look at it from an owner's perspective and say, listen, this has to pay me rent that's due today, or I'm going to make some adjustments in the form of eviction. How many of you approach your day like that? Okay, let's move on, because time is, I don't know where time went. It's flying, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I know I said an hour and a half, so let's move through this. All right, so rent is $500 per day or eviction. It's $500 a day or eviction, because y'all said it was true in the real estate, so why would it be true over here? Listen, if you don't pay, everywhere in the world is set up. If you don't pay this and you're obligated to it, and this is what is said, then there's going to be an eviction. All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about this eviction. Remember what we talked about is that what's the difference between A, B, and C? It's their selection. It's what you're selecting. It's not what's unfair about the overall realm of the real estate world. It's what that investor selected. You selected these 10. B selected these 10. C selected these 10. Well, couldn't B and A and B select what C selected? Yeah, they could. Couldn't they go talk to C and say, hey, where you finding these deals at? Sure, they could. But at the end of the day, it's my selection that makes the difference. There's something that C is doing that is making that investor more profitable. All right. So the same thing has to apply on the trading side. It's my ability to produce my rent requirement. It's a requirement. If I am spending the money for this account, I require it to pay me my rent. Now, is it the fault? Is it the fault of the owner if the tenant doesn't pay the rent? Let me know that. What do you think? Whose fault is it if the tenant doesn't pay the rent? On the real estate side, whose fault is that? If the landlord has a tenant in there and he says, listen, you have to pay this rent requirement, who's at fault if it doesn't get paid? You're affected, Judy, you're affected by it, but is it my fault? Isn't it in that contract, whose obligation is it to give you the money? It's the tenant's obligation. Let's just talk about this, because we got to break down. We got to make sure we're all on the same page. If a tenant does not pay what they're supposed to pay, who gets evicted, the landlord or the tenant? The tenant does. Who is the court going to hold responsible for the non-payment? The tenant. So I want to put some visual to this, is that the tenant, when you think of the account, I want you to think of your prop firm account. I want you to think of that as a property. When you think of the tenant, I don't want you to think of yourself and hold yourself accountable. We're going to shift here, because you're an owner. You're an owner and an investor, so you will never be the tenant. I want you to think of yourself as the trade. Or excuse me, not you. You're the owner and investor. I want you to think of the tenant as the trade. Somebody type that so we all get it. The tenant is the trade. The account is the property. Somebody type that for me. The tenant is the trade. The account is the property. That's right. Thank you. The tenant is the trade. The account is the property. The tenant is the trade. The account is the property. The tenant is the trade. The account is the property. You own a property, and eventually you're going to have a portfolio of properties. Who's responsible for paying you the rent requirement? Can somebody tell me? Who is responsible for paying the trade? There it is. The tenant is responsible. We said it was true in real estate. All right. So we're bringing that same over here. Who's responsible? The tenant is responsible. Who is the tenant? The trade. That trade, as soon as I put it into that property, it has to go to work. It has to do what to meet its obligation. It has to go to work. Are you going to work? What are you? Somebody said this. What are you doing? Are you going to work, or is the tenant going to work? Which tell me in the chat, which one is going to work? Who has to go to work to meet their obligation? The tenant. The tenant. The tenant. Tenant equals work. Tenant has to go to work. They have to pay you because you've allowed them to come into your property. They have to go to work to pay to be there. Nedra said the tenant got to pay bills. I am an owner. I am an investor. An owner doesn't have to pay the bill. The tenant that he or she placed in the property has to pay the bill. So this changes the mindset. When we go to build our business, are we saying, oh, I got to pay this monthly fee, or I got to make sure that I'm accurate. I got to make sure I know everything. Well, hold on. I mean, it's good for you to know, but are you the one going to work? It's your property. You are putting tenants in your property. No, that's your that. And if the tenant doesn't pay, is that because the owner was wrong? No, it was just the wrong tenant. It has to get evicted. You know what? If you're not going to pay, you gotta get evicted, and I got to put somebody else in your place. Because owners and investors that are on that $1 million level aren't thinking about the operations. They'd be like, well, I'm in the hospitality business. Well, they're not. They're just being paid the rent. And it so happens the operator is a hotel that pays them the rent. When Buffalo Wild Wings buys a property, they'll pay for it, everything, and then they'll sell it back to the developer, and they'll pay the developer rent because they just want to do their operation. The developer takes the debt and says, I'll allow you to stay here. You built it and all this stuff. I'll allow you to stay here. I'll allow you to operate. I'll allow you to manage it. I'll allow you to do all the work, take customers, cook the chicken, do everything that you do. Does the developer need to know how to cook the chicken? Does the developer need to know the hours of operation? Does the developer need to know all of these things? No. The developer just needs to be an owner. You're allowing them to be in your space and allow them to work. All right, let's dig into this a little more because I'm going to bring this home and make it make sense. All right, so let me test our mindset so far. So what if the property was a different type? Does it change the rules? Or does it change what you want? Let me ask you that. What if the property was different? If it was the mansion on the left, if it was the storage facilities in the middle, if it was the retail space, or if it was the house, does the rules change? Or which one do you want? Let me ask that. Which one do you want? Which one would you rather have? Let me ask you that. You said everybody's saying no, it doesn't change the rules. Okay. Which one do you want now? Dynas is the best cash flow. Yeah. Yeah, we're thinking like owners and the one that meets my needs. Yes, Brian. What's the numbers? The one that meets my. Now we're talking. Okay. Now we're talking. Y'all are on point. This is the question. Can it produce my required daily rent? That's what I'm asking. Can you do what I need you to do? I've already said, my rent is $500 a day. If you're going to live here, $500 a day. Can you do that? Different perspective, because now it's not about the market. It's not about moving averages and all this stuff. I'm just asking, can you do this? Can you meet my rent requirement today? That's right. Show me the money. Can you do it? That's what I'm asking. I don't care how you do it. A lot of us get caught up in the how. I needed to look just like this. I don't care how you do it, as long as you do it. Just do it. Just do what I'm asking you to do. It can look ugly. Another trader or another investor may come and say, I would never have bought that. Well, guess what? I got $500 paid today. It may look ugly, but guess what? It met the rent requirement. Your trade looked beautiful, but did it meet your rent requirement? All right. All right. So now we're going to throw on our CEO hats. The purpose of the CEO is you got to get your business to the point where it is producing your daily rent. Don't care how you do it. Don't care what you know or what you don't know. Only thing that the shareholders care about, only thing that the owners and investors care about is, did the rent get paid? I don't care about that. I don't care if I'm owning a McDonald's franchise. I don't care about how the burgers taste and burgers this and burgers that. If they have to pay me, did the rent get paid? If you're on my land, on my property, did the rent get paid? Oh, it didn't get paid? Okay, well, let me go in and figure out how y'all making these burgers then. Let me see how, are you guys cleaning the restroom? Why do I care? All right, so let's bring this over to trading. We got to get our business to the point where it's producing daily rent. We have to step outside of the business. We can't work in the business. We got to step outside and really evaluate, is the business paying us rent? Because the employee, let's just be honest. For those that are working a job, I mean, be honest. Do you really care if the business makes money or not, if they're paying you a salary? I mean, you gotta say that you care and stuff, but do you really care? Do you lose sleep if the business isn't making money that you don't own, and they hired you to wait tables or to clean floors or to manage something? Do you really care? The employees don't care if the business makes money, and that's what traders usually do. They usually want to get busy and start working. They don't really care if the business makes money. I just do what I'm supposed to do. I just, I want to stay busy and I want to do what I was hired to do. But an owner and an investor cares whether the rent is paid. For your business, how many of you really know if the rent is getting paid? Or are you just hired yourself for your business to be an employee, to be active? All right. And so we're going to put on a different hat as the CEO to get the business to a point where it's producing the daily rent that we need. All right. Let's ask another question. What size prop firm account should I use? Because I heard y'all making money with prop firm. What size prop firm accounts should I use? Does anybody have an answer? Give me an answer. What size prop firm account should I buy? Come on, give me an answer. There we go, Corey. Depending on my need. Okay, now we're talking. The one that best meets my need. Come on. Depends on the numbers. Now we talking. Y'all sounding like CEOs out here. Doesn't matter as long as it produces the 500. Come on, Judy. Does it pay my rent? Come on. Now you're talking. The one that meets your needs. That's right, Tim. The one that meets my needs. Oh, the shift is already happening. Because how many of you got introduced to prop firms and you wanted to know all the fine details, but didn't ask the most important detail? Does it pay my rent? I have a $500 rent requirement. Does it pay that? I need to know the numbers. Okay, let's look at it. That's right. Y'all answered it. Y'all on point. What size prop firm you gonna use? Whichever. The question don't change because we're in a different industry. Whichever one pays the daily rent requirement. I'm not going in here to be a professional. I'm going in here to be an owner. Like, are you a trader? I'm an owner. I'm an investor. Well, what do you trade? Whatever meets my needs. Whichever one pays my rent requirement. Okay, let's go on. We got to get to this. And time has flew past, and we got to get to the numbers. All right, let's talk about this. What size prop firm should I use? Let's go into depth on this. This is Apex. If you look at their challenges, you can buy a $25,000 account, a $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, $150,000, all the way up to $300,000. And most of the time we've been geared towards big money, like $1 million. I got $1 million. And like, well, 300,000. So most people go, well, initially when they're introduced, like, I want 300,000. And somebody else says, I want 25,000. And another person, I want 300,000. Which one do you want? What's the answer? Whichever one pays my rent payment. And if they all pay the rent payment, what did we do when we had the side by side for the houses? We said whichever one is the most efficient. Oh. So if I only have to buy 5 of these, but over here I have to buy 13. Oh, okay. All right, now we're starting to build the bridge. All right, so let's look at this. For the 25,000, the profit target is $1,500. So that means you have to make, they give you 25,000, you have to make 1,500 above that in order to get the funded account. And your trailing drawdown is $1,500. So they match 1-to-1. Now let's look at the 300,000. They said the profit target is $20,000. And your trailing drawdown is $7,500. Oh, that's almost 3 times. The target that I have to get to is almost 3 times the liquidity. So it's going to be harder to get to this one to achieve it. So let's look at the numbers. This is 1. This is 1.2. This is 1.55. This is 2. This is 1.8. Oh, 150,000. They're saying get to 9,000 and we'll give you 5,000. And that's 1.8 ratio for liquidity. Which one do you think has the best chance of being achieved? When we say, what is the requirement? You got to pay me rent. So if I buy an account that has to pay me rent, why do I care about the amounts of the account? Is it going to pay me my $500 or not? Mm. See, you're making a CEO decision. There is no right or wrong answer here. But the same way that you selected the property is the same way you have to select the account. The account is the property. And you're saying, listen, I would, it seems like, man, $500, I could do that in 3 trades, 25,000. And it will pay me 500, my rent requirement of $500. All right, let's add another facet to this. When you're funded, the profit level to be eligible for payout, you have to be $101 past the trailing threshold. So before we looked at it, the trailing threshold is here. So on a $25,000 account, once your account gets $1,600, $1,601 above $25,000, you're eligible for a payout. But you have to maintain, that also becomes your new limit. You can't go below, you can't go below 25,000 once you take that $1,600. Which means that you have to build a cushion. And so the cushion is that if I'm going to take $1,600 in a payout, then I should have at least $3,000. I take $1,600 at $3,000, and that leaves me $1,400 as a cushion. Or I take excuse me, I did that backward. I'll take $1,400 and leave $1,600 as a cushion. All right. How fast could I get a payout on a 25,000 account versus a 300,000 account? I cannot get a payout until I get my profit level up to 7601 on a 300,000 account. Let's look at a 150,000 account. I don't get a payout until I get my profit up to 5,000, but to be on the safe side, I at least need to make 10,000. So which one can I get my rent payment paid out faster? The 25, the 100, the 150, 300? Yeah, I'll give an example of that. Judy says the 25. Now, before this master class, how many of you knew which one that you would pick for your business? Diana says, and that's a good point, Diana. He says 25K technically, but it doesn't meet my need. I can't see myself. I can't see owning that property and it paying me $500. That's a good point, Diana. You're thinking like an owner and an investor. So maybe the 50. Do you see yourself with 50? If they gave you $2,500 of trailing drawdown, do you see yourself at a 50? Or maybe it's 70, or maybe it's 100. Maybe it's that's the decision. Corey says, I did not. Tora said, I did not. Dr. Tora. Brian said, I did. All right. So this is about knowing your numbers. It's like we select based on what is. Before, when I first started prop firms, I would get 300,000 accounts. I wanted to say, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good. To have that trailing drawdown to handle bigger moves and bigger swings is good. And so I was like, man, I'm multi-million-dollar funded. What I found is, as time went on, that my 25 and 50K produces way more than my 150 and 300K. Just ratio wise, because my it's my $500 a day. I can get there faster. I can get payouts faster here. I like 50. I got a bunch of 50s. I get my payouts faster. I can get 3,000 in one day. I don't. $500 a day. But within a week, I could be payout eligible. So here I was saying every 9 days I'm getting a payout or passing a challenge. Here I'm saying every 3 days, every 5 days. All right, really quick, let me do this. Trailing drawdown is just because that's a good question. Trailing drawdown, it is when price pushes up and you're profitable. So initially, say you have a $25,000 account. Let me use this, 100,000, because that's easy math. $100,000 account. They say your trailing threshold can be 3,000, which means that if you start off at 100,000, if it goes below 97,000, you blew your account. So if you're in a trade and you lose $3,000, then you have to start over. That account's blown. You got to buy another one. And then let's say that it pushes up and goes to 110,000 as an example. That 110, and then it comes back down to like 107. Your high watermark was 110. So now that threshold is from 110. So now if it goes down to below 107, I'm just doing quick math. I know it's percentage based, but let's just say for quick math, 110,000, and say it goes down to 107,000, you blew the account. You blew the account. All right, the math is going to make sense. We're going to get to that. But don't get caught up in the math. I want to get the concept. I want you to get the concept. A lot of times when you're talking to upper management and you're talking to C-level individuals, they're not talking to you about the numbers and the math and all that stuff. They want high-level conversation. They want to know what the spectrum is. Is the rent going to be paid? Yes or no? Don't tell me how. Don't give me the math or anything. Just tell me yes or no. I need to, because I'm going to manage a lot of stuff. Give me a yes or no answer. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So the funded, the potential for me to get quicker payouts and to meet my rent requirement is there's some sweet spots that if I know the numbers, I can select the right one that's the most efficient. That's what we did with the real estate. And we're saying these accounts are properties. So why wouldn't we look at it the same way? All right, let's push on because we're almost at time. All right, let's ask the same question. What's the difference here? The difference is my selection. Right? Which one are you going to select? Because that's going to be the difference for you. If you're saying, "Hey Tim, I'm having a hard time passing a challenge," is it because you selected the wrong one? Maybe it has nothing to do with your trading. Maybe the target is too high. One aha moment for me is when I looked at my TradeAvate sheet, and TradeAvate shows statistics of what you've been trading, and I was heavy on 150. Y'all heard me. I bought up $150,000 accounts. When I did the $150,000 accounts, the profit target was $9,000. And I talked to some of y'all, and we would talk about it. We would laugh. It seems like I'll be like $500 away and then blow the account, because I'll be like, okay, I'm at $500. I don't want to wait till tomorrow. Let me see if I can get to 9,000. And then I blow the account. Or I get to 6,000 and then blow the account. Or I get to 7,000 and then blow the account. How many can testify that you've been there? You get close and then blow the account. Testify if you can identify with that. You get close to it, but then you blow it. Just testify for that for a second. Oh, okay. You're gonna leave me on the island? Okay, I figured that it was a little delay. I thought y'all had me on the island. Yeah, been there, been there, been there. Teacher said the story of my life. That just said I blew it at 8,700. Been there. Okay, let me bring you into my aha moment. I'm gonna bring you into my aha moment. How many challenges could you have passed at a $50,000 level if you blew the challenge at 8,700? Oh my God. Did that click for anybody? Did that just click for anybody? Like it clicked for me? I got to 7,000. I was almost there. I got to 8,000. I was almost there. How many 50K challenges could you have passed? That you only needed 3,000 for. Nedra said I would have at least had 2 accounts with the same trade, with no more energy. And most of you are like me. When I blow these, I'm not trying to. It's usually multiple losing streaks that I had one day. I did really good. Set my stop loss at $500, and the next 6 trades just went negative. 500, 500, 500, 600. Now I'm revenge trading. 700, 8. Oh, I blew the account. I would have been past it at 50. Oh my goodness. That was an aha moment for me. It was like, why am I going after this $9,000 profit target when in my sleep I can hit $3,000? Oh man, I went into Apex. I canceled all the 150s. I said, let me buy the 50s. Oh man, I started passing those things left and right. It had nothing to do with my trading. It had nothing to do with me being a good trader or not. I had the wrong tenants in my building. I had the wrong property. That property didn't meet my need. That property did not meet my need. I mean, said, I'm about to make another million. Come on now. Basically, Judy, basically. But you got to evaluate that for your own business. When you look at it and you say, listen, I'm going after this $300,000 account. I got to like 15,000. I was almost there. Well, how many 250K could you have passed? How many 150? How many Come on now. And the 50 is going to pay you your rent. It's going to pay you $500 a day. The 25 will pay you, if you do it right, the 25, you can get coached so that you can manage the trailing threshold where your 25 will pay you $500. Like there is, if you don't know that your numbers, come on now, we are building. We're building. All right, we got to move. It's your selection. That's what I came down to. It's not the trade. It's not the market. Market is, I was telling somebody this the other night. Market is binary. It's up or down. It's not complicated. It's not hard. We'll teach you how to trade. We got excellent coaches that will teach you how to trade, teach you all that stuff. But from a business standpoint, are you managing your business or did you just hire yourself to be an employee? Because an employee don't care. An employee go grab a property, be like, yep, the requirement is to get a property. Let me get this 250K apart. property. Let me get this 150K property. Okay, I got it. I felt the need. But an owner and an investor is going to evaluate if that's the property that best meets my need. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Whichever one pays the required daily rent, the easiest for you. Whichever one pays it the easiest. Yeah, you can pass it, but what are you proving? You just want to prove to us that you can pass a 300K account? Is that what we're doing? Isn't that how employees act? They want to prove that they're the best so they can get a promotion. When the owner's saying that, okay, you made 20,000, but I made 3 and got the same payout. I'm getting payouts. It's just selection. Whichever one pays the required daily rent. Doesn't care. I don't care how ugly the trade is. I don't care. Did it pay the rent or not? Rent is due every trading day. Well, we gonna start saying that rent is due. Rent is due today. I got 10 properties. Rent is due on all 10 every day, every trading day. Rent is due on all 10. Chitty said I get it. Oh, we're gonna. It's a journey. It's a journey. Listen. Those promotions come and go, and it'll come back around. But what you learn will last forever. All right, rent as an owner, and you got to know that rent is due every day, and you got to know what rent you're charging and making sure that it gets there. So let's look at this. $1 million. $1 million is going to be given to the one that is a good owner investor that demands the rent every day. When you start doing your builds, I want you to think of these as properties. So when you're spending, $16, $30 for a reset or something like that, imagine the equivalent of buying a house and having to spend thousands of dollars and having the risk versus buying a house as an account. All right, this house, you're going to say, Advanced Kingdom is going to help me make sure I select the right tenant so that the property produces $500 a day. All right. 10 accounts, $500 a day, $5,000 every week. That's $25,000. Every month, that's $100,000. Every year, that's $1.2 million. With one prop firm account, you can have 20. So that means 2.4 million. You see how achievable it is? How achievable it is for you to be a multimillionaire. That even you could do this. All right, let's push on because I want to end. All right, here's the question that we have to ask. Are they paying the rent? Are my houses paying the rent? Is my property paying the rent? Or is my commercial buildings paying the rent? Whatever you want to call it. Are they paying the rent today? You got to evaluate that, look at it, and you have to answer that question. That's what we're going to be. That's going to be the assignment is, are they paying the rent? Right? The question that an owner and investor is going to ask is, if they're not paying it, why? Why aren't they paying it? All right. And that's a question that, especially if you're new, is yes, trade is paying the rent. That is correct, Tim. If they're not paying, if you bought the account, if you bought the property and they're not paying the rent, then why aren't they? And most of the time, there's issues at their job. Is it issues at your job? Or is it issues at their job, the tenant's job? I think we said the answer before is that it's the tenant's problem if they don't pay rent, right? Because I'm an owner and I'm an investor. So if your rent is not getting paid, it's the tenant's problem. Why aren't you paying me my rent? Well, they're having issues on they're working. They are working. Well, let's talk about that though. Let's stop right there. Let's talk about that. Are they working? Are they working? Are you employing your tenants? Is your tenants working? Because I've heard individuals say, "Well, I haven't traded it all month." Oh, your tenants aren't working. You're not, your tenants are not working. All right, so that's number one, that the tenant isn't working. Number two is they're having issues on the job. The trade is having issues on the job. All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to put on the CEO hat and say, what do you say if go to their job and talk to the CEO and say, let me see the numbers. That's what we're going to do. Let me see the numbers. All right. I know I'm beyond time.